So there was a non-Christian invocation recently in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, during a meeting of the Tulsa City Council, and Republicans are losing their minds over it. Okay, so the person who spoke, this is about a week and a half ago, her name is Amy Hardy-McAdams, and she actually runs a location called the Strawberry Moon Herbal Apothecary and Ritual Center. And before I play for you what she said, let me show you her biography because I think it's amusing, if nothing else. Meet the high priestesses. First one is Amy the Rose. She is a third-degree high priestess of the Artemisian fairy faith tradition of witchcraft and has certifications in Usui, Reiki, level 5, crystal chakra healing, herbalism, medical astrology, medicinal mushrooms, homeopathic remedies, pendulum divination, Akashic record readings, flower essences, and the 9 rites of the Moonai Key. I don't know what most of that means, and the stuff that I do recognize, I don't believe is real. Guess what? It doesn't matter. The point is, she's not a Christian. She's someone who believes in a different brand of what I would call mythology. But there you go. That's who we're talking about. This is the person who was invited to deliver the invocation a couple of weeks ago. And like Christians do all the time, she used the opportunity to speak a little bit about her faith, but she also urged local leaders to look out for the oppressed and the abused and to go after injustice and to be champions for all in this city. It was an uplifting, inspiring message. The only difference is instead of citing Jesus in her speech, she referenced Medusa and the Gorgon goddess and the Awen. I don't know, but let me play her invocation for you, and then we'll talk about it.
As a priestess of the goddess, I invoke the Gorgonea, champions of equality and sacred rage. I call to Medusa, monstrous hero of the oppressed and abused. I open the eye of Medusa, the stare that petrifies injustice. I call upon the serpent that rises from this land to face the stars, the movement of wisdom unbound. May these leaders find within themselves the embodied divine, the sacred essence of the spark of the universe and the breath of the Awen. Place in the hands of these leaders the sacred work of protecting the sovereignty and autonomy of all our people. Gorgon goddess, make them ready and willing to be champions for all in this city, not just those in power. Shine a light for them that they may walk the path of justice, protected and prepared, illuminating the darkness. Endow them with the fire of courage, the waters of compassion, the air of truth, and the strength of the earth itself. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. May there be peace among you all. And so it is.
Thank you very much.
Like the definition of golf claps at the very end there, but that's a lovely invocation for someone speaking from her faith, talking about what matters to her. I mean, whatever. It's not what I believe. It doesn't matter. It's kind of interesting to hear a non-Christian invocation. And here's the thing. She did not come out of nowhere to do that. She was actually invited to deliver the invocation by a woman named Crista Patrick, who is a city council member in Tulsa. She's been a city council member since 2018. And actually, she recently announced she was not going to run for re-election after 3 successful campaigns. So this was Crista Patrick's last meeting as a city council member, and she's a pagan herself. So she wanted to invite somebody who represented her views, given that most of the recent prayers, she told me, had been Christian in nature. So none of this should have been an issue because there was nothing in that invocation that was demeaning or controversial or pointless. There were some unfamiliar references, maybe, because it's not a traditional invocation. But if you listen to the themes, she was talking about kindness, inclusivity, and respect for all. So that was fine, right? And again, I want to make clear, the Supreme Court has said, if you have invocations at city council meetings, there can't be any discrimination on the basis of faith. The Supreme Court said they are legal to have, but you got to let anyone who wants to deliver them, or you got to have an equal process. You can't discriminate against anybody on the basis of faith. So once that door is open, everyone must be allowed in. In fact, when I spoke to Crista Patrick earlier this week, she told me none of her colleagues on the city council said anything negative to her about the pagan invocation after that meeting. They never mentioned it, or they never mentioned it when the agenda was being prepared. So no one really had a problem with it in the moment. The problem is the backlash became fierce on social media, because a few days after she delivered that, this is what was posted on Twitter, on X, from a right-wing account called the Oklahoma Lion. An unnamed Tulsa City Council member, she's not unnamed, her name was Crista Patrick, invited a priestess of the goddess to say what some are calling a satanic prayer. It's not satanic, she didn't reference Satan. At the November 20th Tulsa City Council meeting. So it's not just misinformation, there was video, and that video I just showed you played, and this person is like, how dare they allow this person to speak? And of course, that basically gave right-wing crazy people permission to rail against what happened there. So who chimed in? Who chimed into all this? The most conservative politicians in Oklahoma were like, I got to get on top of this one. So here's Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma, who said this in response to that video: Satan is trying to establish a foothold, but Oklahoma is going to be a shining city on the hill. Tulsa City Council needs to stand strong against actions like this, and Tulsans need to remember who allowed this at the ballot box. Let's take that one by one. Satan had nothing to do with what this woman said. Wasn't a part of her invocation. She isn't a Satanist. I think these people just think anyone who's not Christian is satanic. What the hell? And then, what is it that the Tulsa City Council needs to stand strong against? What, respecting the First Amendment? Letting non-Christians speak? What's the problem here exactly? And as for, who allowed this so that you can vote against them at the ballot box, you know who allowed this? I don't know, the founding fathers, whoever wrote the Constitution. It's literally everyone who served in office and took an oath on the Constitution. And in a different world, you would think that includes Kevin Stitt himself, who took an oath to uphold the Constitution. But he apparently wants to punish, via the ballot box, everyone who decides that they don't want to face a lawsuit by discriminating against a pagan speaker. He wants this whole Tulsa City Council to be punished for allowing this person to speak. None of that's legal, but again, this is Kevin Stitt. He's not known for being one of the smarter governors. And of course, I am talking about Oklahoma, so you know who had to weigh in on this. I'll give you a second. Of course, it's Ryan Walters, the superintendent of public instruction. You know he was upset about this. He chimed in, satanic prayers are welcome in hell, but not in Oklahoma. I'm just going to pause there for a second. I get why Satan would be welcome in hell. Why? Who's praying in hell? Even if you're praying to Satan, I'm kind of surprised that he thinks people are spending time in hell praying. If I'm going to hell, I'm not wasting my time doing that. That's what I would do to pretend to get into heaven now. And I'm not doing that either. He goes on, Satanism is not a religion. Whatever. Tulsa should immediately move to ensure this never happens again, and the person who allowed it should be held accountable. First of all, the person who allowed it is already not running for re-election, so it doesn't matter. Tulsa should move to ensure this never happens again. There is an easy way to make sure it never happens again. Get rid of invocations. They can do that. They are not planning to get rid of them, but that is what they could do to get rid of it. What they can't do, which is the thing that Ryan Walters wants them to do, is to stop non-Christians from speaking. That they cannot do. And also, Satanism is not a religion. I don't know what Satanism has to do with what this woman said, but also the Satanic Temple, to name one group, is recognized as a religion by the IRS for legal reasons. So what the hell is he talking about? Someone else who chimed in on all of this was Attorney General of Oklahoma, Gentner Drummond. And I was surprised he weighed in on this because he's actually, despite being a Republican in Oklahoma, he's actually been something of a champion for church-state separation. He's the guy, remember Ryan Walters wanted a Catholic taxpayer-funded charter school, and Ryan Walters like pushed it through. And then Gentner Drummond, the Attorney General, was like, yeah, you can't do that. And it went to the Oklahoma Supreme Court, and the Attorney General argued on the side of church-state separation. So I was like, why is Gentner Drummond chiming in here? But here's what he said. If Governor Stitt and Ryan Walters get their way, this priestess of the goddess could have her own religious school funded by your tax dollars. I'm fighting to protect our religious liberty by ensuring our tax dollars do not fund this kind of sacrilege. It's like, is this really the ally I need to have here? Instead of saying she has every right to speak because non-Christians have a right to give invocations too, he's like, that's right, I don't like her either. But if you let those two idiots get their way, she could have her own taxpayer-funded religious school, and you don't want that, do you? Let's throw her under the bus because she's the bad woman in all this. Like, why are you doing that, dude? Why are you calling it sacrilege? What she said. You're not helping. You're appeasing nobody with this sort of tweet. So I don't know what the hell he was thinking. I mean, I guess an Oklahoma Republican is just gonna Oklahoma Republican, but like, what are you doing? It's like the right message, but the worst possible way to deliver it. Telling people to oppose taxpayer-funded religious schools because, I don't know, Muslims or Hindus might take advantage of it. I think that might rub people the wrong way a little more, but maybe he gets away with it because he's talking about Satanism or something. I don't know. One of the reasons the reason I know all of this is performative and none of these Republicans actually gives a shit is because guess what happened a few years ago? In 2021, the same woman, Amy Hardy-McAdams, she gave another invocation in front of the exact same city council. And guess what happened after she delivered a pretty identical invocation back then? The answer is nothing happened because it wasn't clipped and it wasn't shared online. And because it wasn't put out there for the right-wing ecosystem, turns out no one actually gave a shit. No one cared. She gave the invocation, they moved on with their meeting, and that's it. But because there is an incentive now in the right-wing mediaverse to just jump on Democrats, to go after any perceived slight against Christianity, all these morons just jump in to say the worst thing possible. Like, that is, outrage is currency in the Republican Party, and pretending to be a champion of conservative Christianity, no matter what, like, that is something all these guys want to do because it's going to mean they'll get ahead in politics. I found one last thing about this. In response to the invocation, I found a Facebook message where someone posted about this, where they were demanding Crista Patrick, the city councilwoman, that she be removed from the city council. They said she should be kicked off there. They did not know this was her last meeting. And so I just want to share with you what this conversation was here. Check this out. Someone pointed out to him after his demand that she be removed, it was her last city council meeting. And then look what this guy writes in response. I wonder if this has been going on for 6 years and we just now know it. Yes, there have been non-Christians who gave invocations, including the same woman a couple years ago, and you didn't care. And the second you finally found out it was happening, you're like, oh, right, I'm supposed to be mad about this. Off with her head. And you pretend to get mad about it. And this dude's like, what? You mean this has been happening and I didn't even notice because it didn't matter? Yeah, that's how it works. You're not a smart dude. Conservatives decided to make it an issue and you fell for it. So like I said, if the Tulsa City Council wants to end this controversy from ever happening in the future, all they have to do is get rid of invocations. But I spoke to Crista Patrick earlier this week or last week, and she told me she was unaware of any plans to do that. She also told me the obvious, that if you allow any religious representative to give an invocation, you must allow all of them. And actually, I wanted to show you, she told me that after she leaves the city council, she's going to continue working with the group called the Tulsa Metropolitan Ministry. Look at their slogan here. The Tulsa Metropolitan Ministry. We don't have to believe alike to love alike. I love that. That's the group she's going to be working with now. And she also posted this really lovely picture on Instagram right here. This is from Amy, I should say, the lady who gave the invocation. I'm so proud of my beautiful friend, 6 years serving on the Tulsa City Council, speaking for those without a voice. For her final meeting, she invited me to give the invocation prayer to open the meeting, the only pagan clergy to do the deed, and I've done it twice. So honored to be a part of this process and represent the pagan and witchcraft communities of Tulsa. And then she had video of the invocation. Yeah, I did. Victory to the goddess. Very nice picture right there. That is awesome. Love to see that. I did ask the city council member, Crista Patrick, what she thought about the backlash. And here's what she told me. She just said, it saddens me that this is being misrepresented. And she hoped the criticism wouldn't cause harm to anybody involved. She didn't want people going after her friend who gave the invocation. She also told me she's been pretty open about being a pagan, and her religion has never been an issue among her colleagues on the city council. It was just weird that it broke through this time around. And I think it broke through because that right-wing troll Twitter account decided to share it and mock it. But basically, Republicans created a fire, and now they decided to throw fuel on it. I also spoke to Amy, the woman who gave the invocation. Here's the amazing thing about her. She did not really seem to understand this had blown up in any sort of way. She's not perpetually online like the rest of us. And she didn't even know there was backlash at all until a friend of hers pointed it out and was like, hey, did you know people are talking about you online? She actually said to me, I didn't even know there was video of the invocation. So part of the reason she didn't know this is because her name was never mentioned in the tweets. Like the people posting about it didn't mention her name. And actually, when she was introduced to give the invocation in Tulsa, the person who introduced her, like the chair of the city council or whatever, got her name wrong. So no one seemed to know who she even was, which is amazing. I asked her if she got any backlash in 2021, the last time she gave the invocation, and she said none, zero. So she wasn't expecting any this time around either. And then I asked why she was proud to represent the pagan community. And what she said to me was, because we have the right to, because we are equal citizens. We don't want to become outlawed or illegal or allowed to be victimized. And she said, if we have those rights, we should make use of them. And she just hoped that people recognize the underlying message in what she said and that others follow suit if they're able to in their own communities. She told me it's important to publicly and visibly stand up for those rights in a non-threatening way because we need to be seen as valuable, equal, natural parts of the community. So just a really wonderful person. I don't agree with her on the religion stuff, but it doesn't matter. I just appreciate what they were doing there. And I wanted you to see that. So I think I'll stop there. If there are any last questions, happy to get to them.